Welcome to episode 71 of What If Civilization Started Over. In the last episode, as you can see, East Asia looks kind of different. We have an absolutely huge sort of Siberian country, where I'm pretty sure I did give them a capital city. However, I'm just noticing now they don't appear to have one, so we will need to give them one right here. But unless you didn't watch the last episode, I don't feel what I'm going for. What did I say? Doesn't matter. Anyway, yeah, Korea went to war with China. China's got all this stuff right near the Amur region. We have Big Pink country, this weird North Japanese country, and then the Koreans also got partitioned in America because they didn't want the Chinese to get California because they're kind of scared of the Chinese and what they might do in the future. So the Germans and the British divided up these territories. We also saw the Chinese take over Hawaii, and that's it for them. Anyway, in today's episode, we're going to look at just the general world and the economic collapse of the world, but not too deeply because we need to do lots of other wars elsewhere. And first off, we're not going to do a war, we're going to do alliances because I didn't update those in the last episode, and it's kind of something we should do. So, bye to you, bye to you, goodbye to you, and goodbye to you. The entire Diamond Alliance has now just collapsed. However, another alliance is going to strengthen. Yeah, they're not going to appear. We're not going to get a new alliance, we're just going to get growth of an alliance, which is this alliance, the Triangle Alliance, as France rejoins the alliance. I said alliance a lot. So yeah, now all 5 of them are back in one huge group of Western European colonialists, and the Italians are really cool looking. Also, the power rankings, that's something else we can do. They've only changed one bit, which is that Korea's gone, so everyone's moved up one spot, and Blue Spain is now number 10, so that's good, but they should be afraid because there's a growing power in the east, which is Mesopotamia. And actually, we need to go to Mesopotamia right now, so let's see what they're doing. Well, I'm on the wrong layer. Mesopotamia is going to be invading a country, and of course, we can do something fun here. We just grab this shape, and we go to the religion layer. As you can see, this country is very religiously diverse. However, the biggest religious group is the red one. Well done me. A Roman one, I mean. And the capital, it's kind of split between Roman areas. It's mostly within the Roman religion territory. However, apart from this, like this little bit here, it's entirely surrounded by Mesopotamian religion, and lots of people within the country who are mostly Roman religion people are like, we should have a capital like over here or here, or in these Roman majority areas. We don't like the Mesopotamians very much, so the country is pretty unstable. The Mesopotamians, of course, prioritize and like their own religion more than they like the Roman one, so they're gonna like those guys more. There's also the matter that the capital is right on their border, so when they invade, they really easily take that and move around into southern Turkey, taking where Turkish cities would be in real life, and the cities of this country are in this world instead. This country falls very quickly, as I said before. There's not really a national identity because of how much religious diversity there is, and very soon we see the fall of this nation, and Mesopotamia now grows a little bit stronger. Anyway, let's head up north to another red country, Norway, who's also in Arabia, actually. Because the peace treaty of World War One, I forgot to change Sweden, but I made it make sense. Okay, it's gonna make sense now because Sweden has absolutely collapsed. Their economy is pretty broken. It was kind of reliant on countries like Poland and Ukraine, and they're all broken. Look at Ukraine. That is side Ukraine. Poland is some messy looking weird country. Germany looks cool though. And Sweden entirely fell apart. In fact, it fell apart so badly. There's military groups just running around that nobody wanted to actually go in and take territory from it in World War One. But now the Norwegians have got authority, and that's what they're going to do. They're going to invade Sweden because why not? They began an invasion in the north. I mean, it was like less than a decade ago since they last invaded Sweden in World War One. So it's kind of sad of the Swedish. But Norwegian troops make a pretty good move into the Swedish territory. The Swedish have no strength in their country anymore. Norwegian troops pushing through Denmark and just Germany to the south. They take where Gothenburg and Malmo would be. And they just really easily take over this stuff. Different groups kind of just surrender. They take the capital, Stockholm, and that's literally it for this country. So in a peace treaty, the entire thing's annexed into Norway, which wouldn't have happened in the peace treaty of World War One. But Norway might have just got authority to annex the entire thing later on, like in a different war. So now we have a fully united Scandinavia, I think. Finland's not Scandinavian, but we have Denmark, Norway, and Sweden, and it looks really cool. It looks really strange. like to have it actually united for once. But this is fun. Anyway, we can now head over to Russia. I was just checking I was actually recording. I was kind of scared I wasn't. But the Russians are another country who is pretty strong. I think they are the fifth strongest country in the world, and they're kind of approaching the strength of France, which is what they want to do. But today they're going to invade one of these countries over here in Russia, and it's going to be one of these two, the brown one or the red one. Make your pick. Both. Yeah, they're going to invade both of them. Neither of these guys are very strong. They are, what's the word? Like their ethnicity and their culture and their religion, it's all the same because there's entire areas like Ukrainian culture, and there were old countries here, but they don't really exist anymore. It doesn't matter, these are just random groups of provinces. So the Russians, well, number one, the Russians will be able to assimilate these guys pretty easily because they're a similar sort of ethnic group, at least in this area. Like lots of the government has now switched over to the Russian sort of people. There's less Uralian people in the country now, and lots of Uralian people have moved into like Western Russian territory, becoming Western Russian people. So that's happened. The brown country falls very quickly, and following that, the invasion into the red team occurs, and they take the red team's capital city down here in the south. An invasion also happens in the north, and the red team and the brown team barely had a military because they've not existed for very long, and they barely set up their countries. So kind of a mean thing to do. But the Russians do not care, and in the peace treaty, they will fully annex both of these countries who've only existed for one episode. So, in the peace treaty of that war, we see the Russians look weird now. I don't know if I love it. Actually, I do. I don't love it. But now we actually are going to see some stuff as a consequence of what's happened during the economic crash of the world, and we need to come down here to the blue country. Poor old blue country. Now, the blue country is devoid of anything of worth, really. I think there used to be a trade route through here, like the Silk Road went through this country in real life. Trade routes are a thing that exist in this series, and don't really go through this country, so that's a shame. The blue country doesn't really have any prospects. Immigration out of this country is huge. Emigration out of the country, I think. Emigration is exiting. It doesn't matter. This country is basically just falling apart, and the leader of this country, the king, will ask the Chinese to invade so they can be freed and actually have food and money and stuff. So the Chinese do that, and after they take the capital and the three northern cities, the entire country will surrender. Not super happy with it, but the people would rather like actually be able to survive properly, so they don't care really. And now China annexes this entire country into their territory as China grows even more powerful. Uh-oh, world, this is quite scary. Anyway, we need to look at more collapsing economies, and we actually need to go down here to India. Alright, so we changed the map back to episode 39 because I thought this would be more fun. No, I'm not going to do that, but here's episode 39, just in case you're wondering what it looks like. I don't know, if you're curious. The world has definitely changed quite a lot since this episode. Wow. I mean, actually it looks very different. Just look at Europe. Yeah, I'd say it's pretty different. Anyway, I just wanted to grab a certain country from India because one certain country is having a civil war, and that certain country is the red team down here. So this is pretty bad. I don't know if you remember the yellow team at all, but it used to exist. It was a rebellion from India, originally in episode 18, I do believe, following the end of the Indian War with Persia, which they lost. So this country rebelled from them, and now it's rebelling from the red team. So the yellow team is returning, and the red team was not expecting this. The red team, as you may remember, of course southern India, I mean, there's lots of red countries, which is kind of a problem. Anyway, the southern Indians are an oligarchy, and since they're oligarchy, it's kind of like, we're going to get people who are the best people, like the most intelligent, most wealthy, things like that, and they're going to help us run the country. Lots of those people are also from this side of the country, and this is where all the secessionist movements are, and that's pretty bad for your country. So various oligarchs have decided, you know what, there's a huge economic crash going on in our nation right now. I think just us breaking away would make our country better. So they're going to do that, and the red teams are having a really hard time actually pushing these guys back. So they push in from the east, taking one major city. However, a second rebellion is going to pop up, and that is of course the nation of Odisha, a pretty old country who used to exist a very long time ago. They were partitioned up by the Bengali and red team soldiers. Also, something kind of interesting to note is that this territory up here is entirely different. Just give me a sec. So as you can see, the yellow team, this is their old borders, and then the Odishans have these borders, but this bit is something entirely different. Also, you can kind of see which bits have been annexed by other countries, which I think is interesting. But the Rhodesians have a pretty good time fighting over here in the east because of the fact that most of the red team troops aren't over there, and if they are, they're loyal to the cause, so it doesn't matter. The yellow team's fighting through more tricky stuff up here, but they do manage to actually get a consolidated front up in the north, so that's good, as a general front line appears, and they get this big wall-looking border. The red team's going to try and use nationalism to fight up here in the north, but they also need to use money to fight in the north, and they're kind of lacking in money, so that's bad. The Spanish country is going to try and starve out the red team and not trade with them, which is very cruel, but they want the red team to be weaker so they can get better trade deals, because they're mean like that. And the Sri Lankans also don't like them, and these guys are like, oh, these two, I mean, they're like, yo, do you want to help? And the red team's like, no, screw you, you didn't help me when we got invaded. And they're like, yeah, I didn't want to get invaded. Indochina doesn't really care, so they're not going to do anything. And India doesn't really like these guys at all, so they don't do anything either. And the red team is now entirely alone in the world. That's very sad. And with funding going into the yellow team from the Europeans and other countries, Bengal, I don't know, Bengal still doesn't like them. They haven't forgiven the red team. They eventually, after a few months, possibly like a year of fighting, reach a peace deal, and let's see what that looks like in a second. So, yeah, I've done this so far in the peace treaty. As you can see, the Rhodesians have lost territory to Bengal and to the green countries. So they don't have all of their land back, but they got most of it, whilst the yellow team has most of the territory except for this tiny bit down here. And then we have this panhandle right here, which joined during the rebellion. During the rebellion, I don't know what I'm trying to get at by saying that, but you know what I mean. Basically, this was loyal territory to the cause, so that territory will be joining them in the cause. I'm trying to give them a capital city, but I'm struggling to do that. I think, oh yeah, that's good. Uh-oh. Let's not worry about that, I suppose. I'll worry about it, don't worry, I've got it. There. Problem fixed. And you can have your capital right back here. Great. However, we do need to divide up that territory, so we're going to go ahead and do that. And the general lines of partition look something like this, with the red team pushed back all the way to this point, and the north they basically just annexed the bits that kind of connected it up. Everything up to this province. So there's all this sort of stuff right here. I just use this province. They owned this one. You know what I mean. You understand what I'm saying. I'm just saying it poorly. Anyway, so the yellow team gets loads of stuff. They're the main country in this rebellion. And the pink team is also kind of there. I'm not going to do the ideology. Alright, so ideologically, the yellow team, as I said before, will be an oligarchy because the rebellion was led by an oligarchy, whilst the pink team will return to being, oh, damn it, oh no, to being a council, a bit like some of these other Indian countries. Well, the councils are European, not European, Indian ideology. There we go. Also, have quite a few military dictatorships in India, which is something I'm going to be changing in a second. Or Asia, I mean. Because we see the finally we see the creation of just a normal dictatorship, as that takes over in the blue Japanese country, so that's nice, and also in the red Japanese country. I'm not sure if I want to make it like a, no, I don't think I am. We also see the same thing occur in the big Russian country up here. Their rebellion was led by a dictator guy, and he didn't become a military one because there's basically no military in this country. He just becomes an average, normal dictator. So that's nice. I guess we can also get rid of some of these blobs. So goodbye to that absolute monarchy, and you were a military dictatorship, and you were democracy. So goodbye to both of you. And you're a monarchy as well, so that's interesting. Goodbye. Oh, Finland, Sweden was also a monarchy. Goodbye. Nice. And yeah, I don't know. There's probably some more ideological things I can do. Give me a second. For some reason I paused the video for like 10 seconds there. I don't know why. But yeah, I remembered the other thing I was going to change in ideology, which was... Give me a second. Sorry, I was just giving the Dutch and the British a new square, because they are going to need one now, as their ideologies are changing, with the Dutch, the British, and the Norwegians having all their monarchies take a step back and become constitutional monarchies, with the country actually now being run by democracy. So that's nice. France is pretty like nobility themed across the entire history of their country, even going back into the old empires. Both these countries are monarchy themed. Germany's not yet changed. This country used to be an absolute monarchy. Italy's pretty authoritarian. They used to be an absolute monarchy, but they've become less authoritarian, so that's nice. And we do need to go to Catalonia, because Catalonia is doing something pretty major, becoming the first full, pure, actually good democracy. So that's nice for the world. And there's all the changes we need to make to ideology, and now it's only a 14-minute long episode. Let's do one more thing, which is going to be a war down here in Turkey, because I plan to do a second war down here. I just didn't know if I'd have enough time. This country is probably pretty Turkishly religion orientated, I suppose. Yeah, entirely. Roman religion, so it's going to be kind of different land for the Mesopotamians to annex, but they have owned some of this territory in their past, so it's alright. Also, this country is a lot weaker than the other one, so yeah, the Mesopotamians are going to move in through the east and absolutely crush this country with its two major cities. This country falls in like a few months, if that, probably like 1 month. So yeah, it's kind of a sad war for this nation, who existed for not very long. I'm also just going to do this right here, because that looks disgusting. Anyway, yeah, Mesopotamia has become even stronger. Some of this territory is actually like new stuff, because they didn't own all of that, which is cool, because the Mesopotamians are actually getting new territory for once, because most of the stuff in Mesopotamia they have owned before, but Turkey's new. So that's nice, and that's where I'm going to leave it in today's episode. So, thanks a lot for watching, and I will see you again next time. Have a nice rest of your day.